Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel. I'm Lorena Creole, of course, bringing you that spice to sci-fi and pop culture analysis, and of course, keeping it real when it comes to theme parks. So, folks, welcome to the After School Special, where we get together with some folks in the fandom, where we can't quite get together for lunch. So, you know what? We meet them after school. And of course, our guest today is one of my most favorite recurring guests. He feels more like family than a guest, really. It's just like, yeah, I'm coming over. Okay, cool. I'll get dinner, get you wine, whatever. Come on over and we'll have a chat. So we're so glad to have Kamran Pasha back with us for right now. But let me bring up my very, very happy co-host. How you doing, Fast Steven? Are you
Oh, that's
happy?
great. I'm very happy. Are you stealing my line at the back? Are you
Yes.
literally doing that?
Yes.
Because it's the most simplest, yes, brilliant question. Yes, I'm actually
Yes.
quite happy, and that's it. But I'm glad I'm considered family now. I know I'm going on vacation in a little bit. I'm so happy you took the time to interview me, and I don't have much to share though, so I can just eat for the next hour. That works for you. Let's do that.
Oh,
No, no, no.
good. Well, you're funny, but yeah, I've just been looking forward to having Cameron on to talk about this because if anybody knows just what's in the water in Hollywood when it comes to what we've seen happen with Kevin Smith, he definitely would. So, without any further ado, welcome back, Cameron. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well, and it is always a delight to be here. And very much, I consider you a family as well. I don't really have family in this crazy industry I work in, so I always feel safe and comfortable when I come on your channel. So it's always great to see you, Lorena.
Oh, good. I'm so glad to hear that. I'm so glad. Yeah, this is safe space.
Lorena family, Fat Steven, crazy
Yeah,
uncle.
yeah. That
So
Stephen is a very mystical place today. I get his vibe. He's very mystical today.
Yeah.
yeah, he's kind of like floating around out there, just making sure we're happy, making
Crisco's
sure
out.
we're smiling. Crisco's. I hear Crisco and I'm thinking, okay, we're gonna make fried chicken.
Really?
I see
Yeah.
one of the commenters in the chat is saying Nikita0156. I miss Kramer on Twitter. I miss me on Twitter. I miss posting beautiful girls on Twitter. I miss getting into dumb arguments with you on Twitter. But I think I'm kind of done with that for good. So yeah.
I miss Cameron on Twitter too. I really do. And so many folks miss you. But on the other hand, when people find out you're going to be on YouTube, it's like crazy. They're like, "Oh my God, we can't wait to see Cameron. We can't wait to see Cameron and
Absence
catch up
makes the
with how
heart
he's."
grow fonder.
That is very
And
true.
actually, it helps guide us to talk about some of the things we want to talk about today, which is that one of the things that Hollywood has lost is the sense of mystique that comes from all these stars being so accessible to the public. I mean, could you
Mhm.
imagine Marilyn Monroe or Grace Kelly having a Twitter account or posting stuff to Instagram, right? You lose that magic and that mystique. And in the process, the stars degrade themselves and their relationship with the fans because of this too much access. And I think we're going to talk about some of that today.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, this is the man we need to talk to, y'all. So let's see who we have. We have 25 people in here watching already. Thank you so very much. Kamran Pasha is our guest, and we have Snortopoopas Q Burr, a channel member with that so cute avatar. I love it.
I love the
Says
name.
hello, humans and other critters. So good to see you. And of course, good to see my fellow Philly. Well, I used to be in Philly, now I'm not anymore. But Stephanie, how are you doing, Stephanie Janisak? So good to see you. Says hey in all capital letters. Always good seeing you, my dear. Always. And we have Ion who says hello all. Well, hello to you. Glad you're here. We got Keely Chow, Roll Tide. Says hey everybody. Well, hello to you. Fat Steven, tell anyone it's going down. Yep, we are getting started. We are getting started. Andy Patterson says hi from England. Always glad to hear from folks over
I
there
hope you
across the
have some good
pond.
Indian food today because best Indian food in the world is in London. Actually, not some best Indian food in general, UK. The best I've actually had is in Edinburgh, in Scotland.
Really, I have. This is going to sound funny, but it's actually true. I am not a fan of Indian food.
Oh, whatever. Fine.
I'm not.
We haven't had good Indian food, I think.
However, yeah, I have, but it's
Okay.
just not my cup of tea. However, if you are Indian and you were raised in the West Indies,
Mhm.
I will eat that type of food. It's
Oh, well,
something
there you go.
about
Yeah.
yeah, it's something about like the local ingredients
It's
and
fusion.
Indian
It's fusion.
exactly,
Fusion with
exactly.
Caribbean and African elements and Spanish elements within. Yeah, it's it's a unique kind of Indian food. Yeah.
Exactly. Because one time I think I was in England and I said, "Oh yeah, curry chicken." All right, we went to an Indian restaurant. We got it. I'm just like, I am not trying to be rude, but this is not the kind that I remember. And I'm telling the chef kind of like what it is, and he's like, "Okay, that's like West Indian."
Yes.
Indian fusion, but he's like, "Well, let you try this," and it was a samosa, and I like that. So that's the one traditional Indian food that I love. There's always something, even if you say you don't like a particular cuisine,
Well,
there's always going to be something.
Well, here, look at this cultural appropriation, right? You know, Caribbean people took Indian food, or Indian people took Caribbean food, and they fused it, right? And this very idea of cultural appropriation is such nonsense because culture has to be fluid to survive. It's like water. If
Absolutely.
it sits in one place, it becomes rot. It becomes, it becomes dank and rotten. And culture is meant to exchange and grow. It's like breathing. And so the idea of cultural appropriation is nonsense. I mean, it's all about, I think people are upset when you pretend that something is yours and you don't acknowledge that it evolved. But eventually people just forget. Does anyone think pizza is Italian? Nobody thinks that way.
No, but it's
No.
Like,
No, they go ahead, Fessy.
I know. You go ahead. I keep doing that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, with pizza, it's just like we think of it as American, when it turns out that it's actually an Italian. It's like peasant food over there, but here it's like Nouvelle cuisine. Yeah, exactly.
And and corn is a Native American, maize is Native American, right? And so we don't think of it anymore. And that's a good thing, if we all meant to learn and exchange from each other. Hot peppers. Think about it. We're talking about Indian food. As you know, Indian food can be made very spicy, right? And we Pakistanis, Indians, Bangladeshis, we love to put our chilies and our pepper. Where do chilies come from? They come from Peru. They're not subcontinental. If you tell someone, a person, that spicy hot peppers don't come from the subcontinent, they'll be like, "What are you talking about?" Right? That they were brought over by Portuguese traders into Goa in the 16th century, and they're now Indian culture, but you don't even think about it.
Exactly.
It's just as stupid as like when you're watching, like, let's say, a cooking show, or like even like the Food Network, and you're gonna have those, like, I'm trying to picture that one person sitting there watching a Food Network going, "That recipe's culture appropriation. Those peppers are only from one continent. You can't use those. You can only use them from the U.S." Like, that's like recipes in general evolve because you try different types of foods and spices.
There was last year. I mean, look, we're still going through a long crazy period here, but last year, the craziness. There was a well-known chef who had to publicly apologize because she made in her restaurant. She was a white woman. Her restaurant offered a Korean fusion dish, and it's like, "Oh, you're disrespecting Korean." It's like, what?
What?
Wait, it's a fusion dish. What?
She's a chef. She can't make Korean food.
This person better not ever watch Gordon Ramsay, because he does everything. I always say this. I say Gordon Ramsay has his hand in so many cuisines. The funniest thing to see is just, I think, this one episode of Kitchen Nightmares where he goes to the soul food restaurant and he's like, "I'm ready for this." He's like, "I love soul food." And he's like, "Do you have fried catfish?" "We don't have that." "Do you have pork chops?" "Don't have that." "Do you have succotash?" "Don't have that." "Do you have sweet potato pie?" "No, we don't have that." He said, "How can you be a soul food restaurant and you don't have sweet potato pie?" But it's just like he's in so many cuisines. And even if that's your particular cuisine, you feel as indignant as he does when it's not done right.
I don't think if we were going down the cooking lines, even with recipes that adapt over time, even through family lines where you have like a family recipe, if there wasn't the ability to adapt and change it up, then everything will be bland. It's like the way taking a spice out of a food is taking away the recognition of where the first recipe came from. It's always going to evolve. It's like when you see Star Trek, it constantly keeps evolving. It's the same type of thing. You always have
sometimes it devolves.
Well, I'm not getting into that one just yet because I'm still trying to find sonar in space.
Well, let me finish welcoming some of the folks here to the chat. 40 of you guys in here already. Thank you so very much. Please do hit that like button. Please do share the stream out. Tell people that Kamran Pasha is in the house. So we have Tape Drive Games who says, hi, everyone. I have to laugh at that name, Tape Drive Games. Elijah Snow says, well, hello, everyone. Well, hello to you, Elijah. Glad you're here with us. And let's see, we have Raptors 50 who says, hello, Lorena and Peeps. Well, hello, right back at you. And we have another friend over there, over across the pond, Gary Banjo Sandwich Worthington says, hi, all. Was into Kevin Smith till he went crying all the way to Woketown with Masters of the Universe. We are going to talk about that. Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
I have one serious question, though. Naan bread with garlic butter in the oven with a little bit of cheese or even Parmesan cheese. Thoughts?
I'm not a huge cheese fan, and that might shock people. I'm not a big cheese fan, but I love garlic bread.
And garlic bread is good.
But non-garlic bread, using naan. Naan. I can never say it
right. Wait. How does this work? I think the
naan bread, garlic butter.
Oh, naan as in
naan bread. Yeah, naan bread, garlic butter.
Garlic for some reason. Okay, garlic and combine those two. Okay,
garlic butter on top, and then you either, if you don't like cheese, use a little bit of Parmesan cheese sprinkles, so it kind of gives it that little powdery feel, and just throw it in the oven and eat that.
Yeah.
Well, I like garlic.
That sounds good. That sounds good. Hey, Shum, he was the best thing about my timeline. Yeah, Kamran was always spicing up everybody's timeline. I so looked forward to that.
Yeah. It's probably for the best because, thankfully people in largely the town has forgotten that I was even on there. But, the industry will use whatever it can against you. And it's like, oh, you like pretty women. You must be some kind of like gross, creepy guy. I'm like, you all like pretty women. The difference is I'm not harassing them. You
exactly.
As you're saying with Mr. Governor, I'm actually not pretending I don't like them, and I'm not pretending to be something, and I know what my limits are. You don't. So
exactly. Hey, Dennis Kacheka says hi, Lorena and panel. Hello. We have Cold Era, the Count of Monte Cristo.
Thanks, Cole.
Buddy, that's a good one. Hey, Chris Quackernot, live stream on my second screen, playing Star Wars Legend on my main screen. I'm good for today. Oh, well, that sounds like an amazing plan. And yes, please do follow Kamran over there on Instagram. A lot of folks don't know about that. So please do go and check that out.
Yeah.
Let's see. We have Keck44 who says howdy. Very good. Awesome one. 5 years ago, I had Indian food and it made me sick.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that. It can happen at any restaurant, actually.
Yeah.
Let's see. Soul Assassin is here. Little spice makes everything nice. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Soul Assassin, and thank you, Nikita0156, for subscribing to the channel. Appreciate each and every one of you subscribers. So thank you. I see, long time no see, Jedi Padawan Tano. So many cool people I'm seeing here. I haven't seen for a while. Good seeing ya. Let's see. We have Daniel Hall says, hi all. Hope you are well. And Angia Blue, WITW, question mark. I don't know that acronym. You're going to have to help me out.
Okay, what's
You're going to have to help me out. WITW. You're gonna have to help me out with that one. Just put it.
Is it? I
Something tells me I should know it.
I feel it may, or is it a typo? It feels like it could be something else. I don't know.
That's why I'm like, I need context. I always say that if I'm not clear, I'm like, I just need context. Please tell me. Hey, Cavateño. Good day, Lorena Creole, Fat Steven, Kamran Pasha, and the best chat community online. Thank you. Let's see. We have Rogue Disney is in the house. How you doing? Says howdy, y'all. Good seeing ya. And then we have, let's see. Trying to make sure that I get everybody. I see you, Rambam 3000. When they accuse you of being a predator in LA, just say no, that's you.
Well, it tends to be. I mean, look, this is a pretty grotesque town, and and it hides behind virtue signaling. So,
Yeah, I was not the same when I left LA. I'm like, you've got to
Well,
be.
and it'll bring us to what we're going to talk about today, which is that Hollywood, whatever you appear to be, is usually the opposite of what you actually are. It's usually a inversion.
Exactly. Or they say everything about you is perfect. Now we're going to change everything about you.
Yeah,
that's the thing, though. Perfection
it
never exists. You're always going to have a mess up. At the same time, Hollywood is literally the living definition of reverse day, because everything they say is usually it's like Bizarro World. It's Bizarro World if we're going from the Superman.
It's an inverted world.
It's totally inverted. I've never been somewhere where so much emphasis is placed on physical appearance and keeping it at that particular, level. It's like there's no like downtime. It's always like at a 10. Full face, you're always on. And that's just like
I love beauty. The problem is there's nothing more than that.
Exactly. And I was not used to that. I would call it, like, now I understood that movie, The Stepford Wives. Mm-hmm. But it's just like it's all very, very, very superficial. And I'm just like, I was not used to that at all. And that's the hardest thing to reconcile whenever I was out there, because people would like say hi. And I'm just like, do you really want to say hi? Or are you saying hi to find out more about me?
Yeah, is there an angle?
Exactly. Is there an angle? Can you connect me with somebody? Or it was just something else.
We have to make a correction quickly, though, with Hollywood.
Okay.
Not everything is there. Depends on the plastic surgeon. It eventually falls off. So it's not always all there.
Oh, I could tell you.
Why are your eyebrows?
I'll save that for another time about how I went to the plastic surgeon, but it was for something totally different. Like, I could have gone anywhere. I just happened to be in LA, and it was the most freaking surreal experience I've ever.
Okay, well, that allows me to give you a Hollywood anecdote, if I may, while we're going through all these chats.
Please do. Thank you, Kamran 12587 for subscribing. Thank you. Go right ahead.
So a major director who had actually been nominated for an Oscar for a while, I was developing a project with him, and he invited me to come, to meet one of his friends who was billed as the top plastic surgeon in Beverly Hills, right? And so that was actually it was literally on his business card, whatever. And so I go to the guy's mansion. He's got a mansion. He's obviously very successful in his thing.
Right.
There's a party there, and there's sort of C-level celebrity types, whatever, reality.
Mm-hmm.
This is before reality stars, but sort of whatever, the people there yeah, okay, I think I know who you are. But they were there, and then there were a lot of his clients, and they were all these people that were like perfect bone featured, they didn't look human, right? Because they didn't have the normal quirks because they'd all gotten it. So two things that happened there that never left me. One is that our host, the plastic surgeon guy, would walk up to people, and he was just listening to their conversations, all drinking champagne, and he would play on their insecurities. Like someone would say, "Oh, I just wish I could get rid of this thing." I can fix it. I can give you a special, right? Oh, he would go up to people, was like, "Oh, little dimple thing, that I can fix that for you." He would insert insecurities into them, right, and then present himself as the savior. And it worked. People were like, "Oh my God, please, doctor. Yeah, I'll make a special point with you." So I would watch him manipulate people who were already insecure actress model types, right? And tell them how they were flawed in some way. And then they would want him as their doctor. I saw that, which horrified me. Number one.
Is that because the show Nip Tuck, right?
Yes.
It's almost exactly like it. Like, you're perfect, but we need to change this, move this, change this around. And it freaked me out, because it reminds me of a conversation that I'd had with my general practitioner in LA when he was giving me a plastic surgeon reference. He said, "I am trying to send you to someone reputable. I am not trying to send you to someone like those guys that you see on the TV show Nip Tuck," right? I'm just like, it is insidious.
It is insidious.
But that's the business out there.
So that was one thing. The second incident that happened, which was quite revelatory to me. So I'm being my normal self, right? I'm this little Pakistani guy, right? Just being myself and talking and laughing and telling jokes in this. And most of the party was just sort of dead silent. Everyone's sort of standing there, very attractive, looking at each other and not saying anything. And I'm just trying to liven it up and telling stories, whatever. Finally, is this sort of male model type, right? with perfect cheekbones, male model type, comes up to me and he says this to me. Wow, you really like yourself. I never forgot that, because this guy is like, I'm sure he's objectively a very handsome guy to most people, and most women would find him attractive, but he
Right.
exuded self-hatred. And that's why he's standing there in the corner holding his champagne and not speaking, because he has nothing to say, right? Because his self-esteem was very low. And he couldn't believe this little brown little guy, bald, running around, being funny and telling stories and trying to connect with people. He couldn't understand that energy coming from someone like me, who he thought wasn't as good looking as him, right? So he didn't understand, how could I like myself? So he was coming both on one level to put me down, like, you shouldn't like yourself, so shut up and go away. Another was like, how is it that you do? What am I missing here? And I never went back to that. I told my director, I was like, yeah, don't ever take me to places like that again. But it taught me about Hollywood.
You know what? That sounds exactly like the first party, one of several, when I got to LA, because of course I was working in IT. So anytime we'd have like these parties and stuff, we were always like, let's go to West Hollywood or Hollywood or whatever. And you'd be in there. And it's just like, I've never been around so many people, either who loathe themselves or are looking to turn themselves into what another person wants, because that's what's gonna make them a star. Because I know one of the things that I admired about Kevin Smith is that he was from Jersey. I won't hold him being from Jersey, against him, but that kind of like where he grew up and putting all of that like in Clerks and Mallrats and all that, it's like I could identify with that. So then when he was finally getting noticed and going to Hollywood, he seemed to be like, okay, I'm trying to hold on to who I am, Kevin, like from North Red Bank, New Jersey, and hang on to that. And that always seemed to be the appeal, that he was in Hollywood but not of Hollywood. There's a very small number of people who can do that.
That is the image he presented. That was his business card. That was his shtick. That was his sales, right? And in the same way that party, that guy thought my being outgoing was a sales tool of some kind, right? And so, because it wasn't me being myself. So now we're seeing maybe Mr. Smith was giving us a sales tool.
Exactly. It's a kind of like because I almost want to say, and again, I'll insert my own experience in here. Is it that when you get there, you have the best of intentions, like, okay, I'm going to actually be true to who I am. I'll play the Hollywood game, but at the core, I'm going to be real to myself? Or does Kevin wind up being one of those people where that's kind of how I started out, because that's how I could reel people in. And now I just want to go to the parties. I just want to be in the club.
Most of the time, it's not even conscious. I mean, people are drawn to a craft like filmmaking partly because they love the craft, right? And they're good at it, which Mr. Smith is on many levels, right? But on another level, it's glamour, right? And glamour gets into you. It seeps into you, and it's not conscious. The desire, suddenly, a lot of filmmakers are weirdo nerds who didn't fit in, and that's why they were the observers who could make good films, because they observed people. And then suddenly they're getting accolades and they're getting attention, and attractive people who wouldn't date them suddenly are like trying to get into their trailer and take off their clothes. And so it's just like, this is it. And suddenly you're like, then it's like a drug. It's like a shot of heroin. And like everyone's career, you have a moment of fame and then it goes away. Then you might get it again. But the glamour that comes with the moment of fame and the access to this dazzling world becomes addictive. And then you suddenly forget why you started doing this, because it's the dazzle that draws you. And I probably was being tempted in that direction for a while when I had like a large amount of fame coming off of Sleeper Cell and stuff like that. And but the one thing that stopped it in some ways was my own self-sabotaging, which is I would get invited to these kinds of parties and and big shot people, and I would inevitably put my foot in my mouth because people would say something that I didn't agree with, and I would gently correct them, and suddenly you can't go against whatever the official narrative of the town is, right? And so very quickly I would stop getting invited to those things. So in some ways I protected myself through my own inability to keep my mouth shut.
But that,
go ahead, Fatima.
But that in a way, Cameron, that a lot of people should keep that, because not only does not everyone enjoy being surrounded by yes men, but as soon as you decide to be persuaded, or it's like a glimmer in a way of the glamour, you lose that part of your individuality of your own personal thoughts. So you're always going to have people that don't agree with you, or people that are going to be kind of outraged because you're not going along with that narrative. But how much of your soul, when it comes to Hollywood, are you willing to give up before you are soulless?
Well, that most people will give it up, as we're seeing in as we're seeing with people right now, and perhaps the topic of our conversation today. I mean, most people will give it up in order to fit in to the club, if they think they're even getting into the club or getting close to it. I mean, we're seeing it now with with Mr. Feige, right? He just wanted to make things for the audience. Now he's being made for the club, and the audience isn't responding as well.
Yeah. It's a sad answer, but it's true.
But look at that! Look at that headline that Lorena put up. Kevin Smith promises he won't ruin your childhood with new He-Man series. Why do you ever have to say that?
I think this is
we're going to do it.
I think that was one of the biggest issues that I had with him. It's just like, why can't you just do your product, put it out there, instead of engaging in this?
I don't know.
Because that just seems to be the popular refrain, like, oh, we're not gonna ruin your childhood or or anything like that.
You never have to say that if you love what you're doing. Look, poor George Lucas got accused of ruining our childhood when some people didn't like the prequels. He never apologized for them, right? He never apologized for them. He made what he wanted to, and then a whole generation really did like them, right? And so, if you're an artist, you do what you love, and you never have to apologize in advance, because you only do that if you're doing something intentionally to subvert something. That only comes to your thought. George Lucas didn't think he was subverting the mythos created in the original movies. He thought he was expanding them. Some people responded and some people didn't. But he never thought he was going to ruin anyone's childhood. People say, I don't like what he did. I didn't like Jake Lloyd, or whatever. I mean, he created that from the heart, and that's why it still works. A generation later.
I think that's an excellent point, Kamran, because George Lucas, he put his craft out there, and I have more respect for directors and those in the industry who are just like, okay, I can understand why you may be apprehensive, but tell you what, just like wait until I put my product out there and you let me know, how you feel about it. I think a lot of it is kind of just the antagonistic attitude that we see from a lot of these people in Hollywood, and it seems like they don't have enough. I don't want to say pride, but enough confidence in the product that they're putting out, that they have to resort to doing things like this.
Well, because most product today put out is created by committee. A filmmaker like Lucas always created from himself, right? And he had the resources to do it. Whereas someone, this reveals to me that maybe Mr. Smith, he was just one cook in that kitchen for He-Man. And I think when he took that job, he was quickly told all the various restrictions and this and that and this narrative and this woke thing and this going to look like this, and we can't have attractive women because that's sexist and all that. Women have to be like men to be powerful. He heard all that stuff, and he said, okay, just give me a check, and I'm going to make it work to the best of my ability. And it's not. I don't think this He-Man's coming from him. It's coming from a conglomerate. Yeah.
Do you think the fact that when he actually got to that, if that does fall into that line, that the Netflix guy, Teddy, do you think because of his activist side projects and the way he is, when he finally met Smith, he just got dumped on what he could do and what kind of image was supposed to be portrayed when it came to the He-Man in general? For not looking at the split of the rights, it was pretty much yeah.
Of course he did. I don't. From what we understand from his earlier tweets, Mr. Smith was not a huge He-Man fan. He may claim to be now, but from his earlier comments, he wasn't. So this was not something that was part of his soul very deeply. And then, so where is this coming from? It's not something that's deep from within him. I have to make a He-Man show. So it's coming from somebody else, and their agenda is what's being presented. So that's what we got here.
Yeah. Oh, Ram Bam, thank you. Oh, let me get this super chat really quick. Ram Bam 3000, thank you so much for the £5 super chat. I so do appreciate that. Remember, glamour is the magic the fairy folks cast on you to cloud your mind and make you think they're good and beautiful people, i.e., it's a lie. Yeah, I've run into that, especially in
Mhm.
LA. I couldn't believe it. I looked like the typical wide-eyed, like I thought this was only true on television, and it's seductive and it's like a spell.
Yeah,
But then you realize, oh, go ahead, Cameron.
no, what it is, I'm sorry to interrupt you. It just reminded
No
me of
problem.
something a professor, a film school professor once said to me, which always stayed with me. He said, "It's not that appearances matter in Hollywood. That's all there is. There's nothing else." So even film, even a movie just appears to move. It's just a series of photographs on a reel, right? That
Mhm.
even that's not real, right? And so
Right.
not the whole thing is appearances. Without that, it's the Wizard of Oz. This whole system crashes. He said, if it's not about appearances.
Did you happen to catch the Smodcast he did with the voice actor Griffin on the He-Man? That was like a damage control.
No, I didn't see that.
Oh,
Oh, do you
it
do
dumpster
you
fire.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't want to play it till they get claimed, but yeah, it was a total dumpster fire. Stephen, Stephen, why don't you talk some more about that?
We did a 2-day coverage that took about 5 hours, and we were just going through. Yeah, we had our satire and everything, but for some of it, it literally felt like a circle jerk. And I'm going to use this as a pretense because it felt like they were trying to build not only Griffin up but Kevin up at the same time before they got into the nitty gritty. And this took about an hour, maybe 2 hours and a half before they actually did it. And we were getting to the point where we were capturing how many times he picked up his movie seltzer, took a drink, put it back on the table, and rotated it so it showed the movie symbol. So he was doing his product placement. And then they'd get
Mhm.
back into this. And it felt like rather than address the issues of why people like it, they just kept digging a hole deeper. It felt not like it was a smodcast like they usually do, like when it came from that bar they usually do. What was it? The canteen, smoke. The one he does his usual one with his other buddy.
Mhm.
The fat man cave, fat cave. And
Mhm.
you're watching this and you're listening to them talk, and it was bad. And the way they were trying to approach Clownfish TV and people on Twitter,
Oh,
and they
that
were
was a
going
hot mess.
it was, and you're sitting there, and we couldn't even get through the whole thing. We just stopped because we got tired of it because it felt like that Smallcast was no longer Kevin Smith. It was a Smallcast for Netflix to do damage control, and Kevin Smith, like we put it this way, Kevin Smith is the middleman. He is the
Yeah.
nerd punching bag for the fans
Mhm.
and for the company. So the company can still push their activist shit or whatever the hell they want to make money. Sorry about swearing. And Kevin Smith is the one taking all the batter
Correct.
because, and he kept digging the lies in more and more. He kept doing this, and more and more. If he was just honest to the point and they laid out what the show was going to be, the format about, the fans would be coming out so hard like a punching bag. But they kept digging in and digging in. It's the way Disney will say one thing, but on the opposite side, they're literally protecting the ones that are doing the thing they're saying they're against. It was bad.
Well, what it is just the current moment that we're in of extreme
Yeah.
gaslighting, where
Yes.
where the studios are gaslighting the public and trying to convince you that who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes, right? And so
Mhm.
that, I mean, that's where we are, and that's like I say, for a town built on illusion, that's the wrong approach.
Yep.
That's you have to create the illusion that pulls the audience in rather than tell people what the illusion is.
Yeah,
And this
it's like
is a lack of PR craftsmanship. That's what this is.
they are horrible pen and tellers. I'll say that right now.
Uh,
Here's the illusion, but here's how badly we delivered the illusion, and now here's my seltzer.
Yeah.
I want to Hi, the John Beck. I see. I actually want to address this one really quick from the Islington girl. They went so hard at Clownfish TV, it was embarrassing. It
It was.
was. It was. Cameron,
Why would
I
they
don't
go
know.
attacking? I like those guys. They're very nice. Those two. Well, what happened? Why did they go after?
Here is what happened. So of course, Clownfish TV, they have industry contacts. They used
Yeah,
to work for Disney. They know animators, all of that. Well, they had gotten word from someone who had been working or who was working on the new He-Man show that basically said, this is what's going down. It looks like it's all going to be centered around Tila. It looks like He-Man's going to take a back seat. And they just went, right down the line with what they were concerned about. And Clownfish TV basically did a video that said, okay, we can't verify this, but it seems like the new He-Man show is not going to be about He-Man. It's going to be about Tila. They put that out on Twitter. Well, Kevin Smith decided to basically call them out and read them the riot act and basically call them liars, which is what they did. Drag them through the mud. Then the rest of the media dropped in and dragged them through the mud as well. It was horrible what they did to Clownfish TV.
Mm-hmm.
Then people start seeing the show. And they were freaking vindicated. Like, I don't know what, but do you think that Kevin Smith mentioned anything about that? No. Nope. His purpose in using Clownfish TV supposedly was to cover something that he didn't want to get out. That was a plot point that he didn't want to get out. So rather than shutting his mouth about it and basically saying you're going to have to use the show, he basically called Clownfish TV liars and never apologized for it.
And then, of course, they turned out to be correct. And they're a very popular channel and they're nice people. And so I didn't know that incident had happened. I'm honestly not following this fake He-Man thing at all. I mean, I was a big He-Man fan as a kid. I had the lunchbox, all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had a crush on Tila, the real Tila, and it's just like to me, this is not even worthy of my attention. So I'm not even aware of what's happening. So it's tragic, but this is an example of the new Kevin Smith, right? The Kevin Smith that's trying to satisfy the club, which is Netflix, right? The old Kevin Smith would have been the man of the people, right?
Right.
The image that we had all these years is the guy that understands the people standing, whose empathy is with the sort of drug-addled loser standing in front of the convenience store. That's where the focus is on the forgotten of society, right? But now, he's got a job, he's got a contract. He's got very powerful people who can open up all kinds of new doors for him because he's had an interesting career, but he hasn't been one of the top filmmakers. He's not Joss Whedon before Joss Whedon's fall and all of that. And so to him, I'm sure this is a way to get it to a very high level of his own ambitions, right? And in the process, he's falling into the trap that this industry is currently in, which is the industry really doesn't understand the power of social media groups, channels like this. They don't understand the power of YouTube. It terrifies them, it enrages them, and they're using him as the mouthpiece for their rage, which isn't helpful.
We came up with a theory actually when we were watching the Smodcast, and the thing was is that we think that Jason Mewes is technically wearing Kevin Smith's skin, and that's not really Kevin Smith. It's Jason Mewes in Kevin Smith's skin, and Ben Affleck is wearing Jason Mewes' skin, and we think that's how it's all going down the line. They're all wearing each other's skin.
Well, it's interesting. I actually met Ben Affleck once at the Directors Guild. He was giving a talk there, and people always rag on him. People in the fandom rag on him or whatever. I actually liked him very much when I met him. He's an interesting guy. He's actually a lot smarter than people give him credit for. And it was actually it was a screening of Argo, right, which is a great film that he directed. And one of the things that he talked about was he was actually a Middle East studies major in college. I mean, this guy, so he actually inserted things into Argo that weren't in the screenplay where he corrected factual errors. Like he knew that himself, right? That whole opening animated sequence about the Shah of Iran and all of that. I have the screenplay. It's not in the screenplay. He put that in there because he's like, you need to explain who the Shah was, why there was a revolution against him. You can't just do a raw thing about Americans. We put this terrible guy in power. We at least have to show it, right? And so he's a very sophisticated guy. He's not afraid to go against a town. Bill Maher is a very beloved guy in this town, and he represents the industry's attitudes on a lot of things, particularly its inherent Islamophobia, and that's who Maher is. And Affleck challenged him directly on his show about a lot of his bigotry and lack of knowledge of the Muslim world, and that put him outside of the mainstream of the industry because it's safer to go along with what Maher says because that's what everyone thinks. Muslims are bad people, and I can be liberal and believe that, right? And that's how Hollywood thinks. And so I have a lot of respect for Affleck. He has his own personal demons or whatever, but all artists do. But he in some ways is the humanist that Smith presented to us. So it's a very interesting thing how that guy ends up being the guy who actually connects with the people more.
Yeah.
So Josh, we can trash talk Zack Snyder on Justice League. Well, yeah, I'm sure he did. Everyone trash talks on sets.
Yeah, it's part of,
It's what
it's
people
part of,
do.
yeah, because as you well know, Cameron, that's part of the Hollywood game.
Everyone's trash talking. People are trash talking their friends. They're trash talking their boss and then kissing their boss's butt the next moment. It's just human nature.
It's what happens, because someone said, "Does some stuff like this happen?" I'm like, have you ever seen the show Entourage on HBO?
Well, Entourage is the tip of the iceberg. That's a joke.
I
That's I mean everything on Entourage is real, and there's so much worse stuff than that they can't show.
I have been out where I've heard people just tearing people apart, and next thing you know, oh, so and so is here for lunch, and they just talk about how great they are, how they love their latest project, even though they were trashing it like crazy. Not 5 minutes ago. It's just that duplicity of Hollywood.
Hollywood is just go watch Mean Girls. That's all it is. It's just Mean Girls.
Yeah, yeah,
Everyone wants to be Regina King. That's all it is.
yeah. It's like
Not
that.
Regina King. What was it? Not Regina King's a great actress. Regina? What was it?
Regina George.
Regina George, because George.
Regina George.
Yeah, so Regina King is
Part
wonderful
of-
good actress, but
part of- yes.
Everyone wants to be Regina George. Yes.
Yes, with the plastics. I joke, but that was like me in high school, and some people I ran with were like, yeah, they call them the plastics.
Hollywood is high school. It has always been high school.
It is.
Always be
Mhm.
high school. And so all this is what people do in high school.
Yeah, they do. They do. It's kind of like that joke that I heard when I first came to LA. They said, "What's the difference between LA people and New York people?" In New York, screw you means have a nice day. In LA, have a nice day means screw you.
There's absolutely truth to that. There's absolutely truth to that. Someone once said to me that whenever you're pitching a project and the person says to you, "That's great," that'll be the next thing we do. Not like we'll work on something else first, and that'll be the second thing. That's screw you. Your project sucks. And I've heard that phrase. Like, "Oh, that's the next thing we're gonna do." Yeah, sure, it'll be the next thing. Tomorrow's always a day away, right? And
It's such a crazy town, and yeah, I'm gonna get you guys super chats in a minute.
Yeah.
It's such a crazy town. That's why it's like if you don't work in it and you haven't been in that particular swamp, it makes it hard or difficult like for fans like myself or like Fat Steven to think. It's like, what are these people thinking? When they come out and they publicly trash fans or they gaslight us and all of that. It's just it's strange it's like trying to make sense out of insanity, so to speak.
Well, but you see, this is the thing. Everyone is desperately trying to just keep what they've got in this town, right? I remember once a friend of mine had been at a party, and this was very early in Charlize Theron's career, where she was already like up and coming actress, beautiful, all that, right? And he said he met her, and she was no, this was not very early. This is after she won the Oscar for Monster, so she's already won her Oscar, right? And he said she was at this party, and this is just his perception. He said, and you would think that she had so much adulation because stunningly beautiful woman, Oscar winner, great talent, right? And
Right.
said, I've never met anyone that insecure who was desperately trying to read the room and say what needed to be said to make that person. She could watch like how she would change to be whatever the person she was talking to needed them to be. You already have an Oscar. You're at the top of the game. People consider you a goddess level of beauty, right? And even she's like afraid of losing what she has, right? And so everyone in this town is afraid of losing what they have. So they're just trying to impress each other. That's why people don't grasp. Like everyone in this YouTube community screams, they're not trying to impress you, man. They're just trying to stay in the club or trying to get into the club. They're just trying to impress each other because otherwise they're out and they're a schlub like you, right? And they don't want that. And I have bumblingly said the wrong things because I'm just an honest guy and gotten myself kicked out of situations where I should have been Kevin Smith further into it, right? And the only thing that keeps me in this town is that I can create. Like actors can't do this. If an actor pisses off the wrong person, they're out, right? There's another million actors and actresses to replace them. Someone who creates screenplays, there is a demand for that, even if they don't like you personally, because you're creating the underlying work from which something can be made, right?
Right.
And so I've survived a little bit because of that. But a lot of these people, man, they don't have the underlying thing. Like, they don't have the underlying thing. Like, Kevin Smith is a very successful maker of independent films, right? But not really an industry guy. and I think he wants to be. And Netflix is his angle in, and so this is his. He doesn't want to blow this. It took him 20 years to get in front of like a real studio, and not just have to run around at film festivals and try to get his famous friends to sell his things.
Exactly. Oh, well, let me get to you guys super chat. There are like 85 of you guys in here watching.
Great.
Thank
That's
you.
Best,
yeah, it is. Because you're here, Cameron.
I'll take it now. I'm off of Twitter, so everyone gets their tips now a little bit.
Yes, it's like Cameron's on. Dirt, go to YouTube so we can watch him because I miss you so much. But folks, thank you so much. Please do hit that like button. It gets me further up in the algorithm, recommended, all that good stuff. Thank you. So we have the John Beck for $5. Thank you so very much for that. FYI, for non-LA people, LA is made up of 50 plus cities. Hello from the South Bay. I used to hang out in the South Bay. Hi, Lorena Creole and Fat Steven. Welcome back, Kamran. Happy Tuesday, everyone.
Well, John Beck, thank you. And I'm assuming you're not the same John Beck that I know. I know a John Beck who's a filmmaker who works for NASA, the Jet Propulsion Lab. So I'm assuming that's not you. But if it is you, drop me a text, man. We got to hang out. But I'm assuming it's another John Beck, right? But yeah, I mean, but I think Lorena can agree on this. Yes, there are 50 cities. The only cities that matter to Hollywood are Santa Monica, Beverly Hills, Hollywood, maybe Sherman Oaks, maybe some older, richer people, Hollywood types are there.
Yeah, I'll agree to that. Sherman Oaks is kind of like where you go because you couldn't buy into Beverly Hills.
Yeah, and the only reason you care about Burbank is because the studios are there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's so that's not like you brag about living in Burbank, right? And so yes, there are all these cities. You are right, but the industry only cares about 4 of them.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
It's sad, but it's really it's true. And Nikki D sends a $5 super sticker. Thank you so very much, my dear. Let's see, what kind of super sticker is it? I'm going to get to it in the morning. Oh, it's a little Shiba Inu dog clapping and saying bravo. Thank you so very much. These super chats, you guys help keep the lights on, help upgrade, equipment. I'm actually looking at a new gimbal for my iPhone, actually, so I can take better video and actually charge up my phone while I'm recording. So I can stay on 5G and not have to get on Disney's Wi-Fi. So you guys help do all this stuff, making the channel even better. I appreciate it. And let's see, we have Mr. Tickle Trunk, who is one of our amazing mods over during the Toxic Femme show. He is awesome. $2 Canadian super sticker and a Shiba Inu dog shaking back and forth, farting hearts. It says floating, but I always say farting hearts because, I can appreciate a good fart joke. I'm not.
It keeps you real.
It does. I tell somebody I can't trust a guy who can't laugh at a good fart joke. Sorry, it just doesn't work. And another super sticker from Mr. Tickle Trunk, a Canadian $3, another Shiba Inu dog saying "my hero." I'm actually gonna let Kamran have that super sticker because in a way, dude, you really are a hero to a lot of us, being who you are in Hollywood, and just being willing to come on, talk to us, give us your insight, all of that. You're so appreciated.
Well, thank you. And I have to actually thank Hollywood for that, because if they had let me into the party, or let me stay in the party, because I got into the party, I got into the club, right? If they let me stay there, I would probably be as psychologically invested as Mr. Smith in staying there. And the last thing I would ever do is reach out to the masses and be a normal person like everybody else, right? And reveal these secrets, because I would be invested in protecting what I have. And the industry very much said, we don't want to give you what we've got. We know you'd be good at this. And they blocked me. And I keep coming back despite them blocking me, right? I mean, you and I talk about my Ottoman project, right? And that's moving now with the studio. And so I keep coming back, right? But I have to thank the industry for trying to lock me out, because I realized, well, then I got nothing invested in protecting you guys.
Exactly. Yeah, weren't Ben and J Lo toxic? Yeah, they were. they were really toxic. I was kind of upset when they broke up. I
I'm
will admit I was invested in Ben Affleck and J Lo. I really was. Josh Whedon got trashed and no surprise. SMG was working on He Man.
Well, there's also there's jealousy there. Look, setting aside Mr. Whedon's personal character and what's been revealed about him, um, you know, I think it's fair to say from a pure craft level, he's a better craftsman at filmmaking, right? And there's jealousy there, and I think he is a fan-oriented filmmaker, and so I think Kevin Smith will always be looking at that guy it's like as overshadowing him. Um, I think that that's just true, and then that's not making any comments about where Mr. Whedon is morally or otherwise. So.
Well, I'm going to actually bring up this comment because I would like for comment to address this. Hey, Gerald Newell says, "I love you, Kamran, but lay off the Islamophobia claims. If everyone who critiques
Okay.
Islam is Islamophobic, then you're either Muslim or Islamophobic."
Okay, so
I don't remember hearing that, but
let's do this
I
then. Okay, I
hold
mean,
the floor.
let's do this. Let's do this. People are free to critique any religion, including my own. People do it all the time. Um, my experience has been that people like to critique Islam as a fun thing in a way that they will not critique their own religion and others, right? They'll use it as a means of feeling powerful and superior because they do have a sense of bigotry towards Muslims. They feel threatened because they're not secure in their own religious beliefs. You never criticize another religion if you're secure in a belief. You got your own thing going on, right? And so my experience in Hollywood, and I'm speaking only of Hollywood, and I will not lay off the Islamophobic claims. It is an Islamophobic town. And the word phobic is correct here because they are afraid of Islam for two reasons in Hollywood. One, it is seen as a very conservative, socially conservative religion that refuses to go along with the woke narrative. They feel that they have successfully co-opted Judaism and Christianity. The industry feels that. They feel they've got enough woke spokespeople in both of those traditions that at least in America, they're able to join on board the Hollywood cultural narrative. Whereas, while to a degree that among some of the younger Muslims I've seen in Hollywood, there is a woke element now rising, the mainstream culture of Islamic culture, whether it's the United States, there's several million of us here, or worldwide, there's almost 2 billion of us worldwide, is very opposed to woke culture and will always be so. It just inherently violates our tradition. So that Hollywood is afraid that we are a block to the cultural narrative they're trying to make all of you swallow, number one. And they're afraid that Muslims are a threat to the one political thing they all agree about, whether they're right wing or left wing. They're all very invested emotionally in Israel. It's a personal thing in this industry, and it's an emotional thing. And so they see Muslims as a threat to something. They don't believe in God in Hollywood. Most people don't. Most people in this industry are atheists, but
Mhm.
they believe in Israel. It's an emotional, psychological thing. That's their God. And I'm being as blunt as possible here because I've said this to people and it's gotten me canceled in this town because they know it's true. So they see Muslims as a threat to the only God they care about, which is a political entity and a state, right? And most of them have never been there. Like, I've talked to Hollywood executives who've never I mean, I've been to Israel, I've been to Palestine, I've been to the West Bank, I've been there twice, right? They've
Mhm.
never been there. They're emotionally invested in it, and they're the ones that'll convince Israelis to take the most extreme actions, while they themselves won't put their own lives on the line, right? And so, if you want to bring this up, and unfortunately, people on like I've had this happen in Midnight's Edge and others, people get agitated with me being Muslim and being a proud Muslim, and I have experienced this directly. You can critique my religion. Notice that I'm not critiquing yours. I absolutely can. I've studied all the world religions. I can find fault with all of them, but I don't because it's immoral, right? But people love to do it to Islam. They love to attack Prophet Muhammad. They love to do it. It makes them feel powerful, right? And I will always call you out on it. People did this crap to me on Twitter, and they thought, I like you, Cameron, but I'm going to insult Muhammad to you, and you're going to be my buddy. I'm like, no, you're not going to be my buddy. You come to me and say, Cameron, I like you, but your mother's a whore. Now let's be friends. It doesn't work that way, right? And so, yes, Islamophobia is real, and your need to critique my religion comes from your profound insecurity about your own religion, because I'm happy to have a religious debate with anybody, and I'll leave you shaking in your boots. If anything you think you find wrong with Islam, I will turn it on your religion and make you angry and irritated and ashamed. Now, I don't do that because it's wrong. So let's not get to this conversation. I have to say this now with passion, because for the last several times I've been on YouTube, on Midnight Session, other places, there's always some person in the chat who decides to do this comment to me. And I'm done with it. I'm done with it, period. And I will never, ever stop defending my religion. I know what it's like to be a Muslim in Hollywood, and you don't. And we're done with that topic.
And that's exactly why I brought that up, to let you answer that. Because I know for me personally, I consider that to be very rude, to go after someone in that particular manner about their religious beliefs. I don't think that that's fair. And yeah, and it is. It's extremely rude. So a lot of times it blows my mind, but you do have people who think that that's okay.
And
you try to come at you.
They do that. And, you know, if someone insults a Christian, I will come to their defense. Jesus is an important part of my spirituality as a Muslim, but I don't share the same theology as Christians. But I will never let someone insult a Christian or a Jew or a Mormon. I'm not a Mormon. Do I share the Mormon faith in Joseph Smith's revelation? I don't. But I will never let someone insult the Mormon tradition, even though there's people who mock it and all kinds of stuff. Every Mormon I've ever met is an incredibly good person, more so than most average people of any religion I've met. Mormons are very committed to an ethical life. I don't share their religion. I will protect their right to their religion and to not be degraded by it. But I wish people would give me the same. But Islam is an easy target.
It is.
Absolutely.
And
Let's see. So we have, hold on one sec. We have a couple more. You guys are so flippin' generous tonight. I mean, this afternoon, whatever. It's evening time somewhere. Let's see. We have Mr. Tickle Trunks is killing it with these super stickers. Which one do we have? Is that
poop?
Is that the poop sticker? The poop sticker.
Poop sticker?
The poop sticker. We're gonna need I need a video clip for that one.
Okay.
I'll find something for it. Let's see. We have the last millennial for $4.99. Thank you so very much. I appreciate that super chat. Cam Jamaram, great to see you, my guy. What are the chances Marvel announces their supposed backed up projects this year? Delta COVID is rising. Love you, Lorena.
I mean, I think the industry is struggling with what to do now, not necessarily even because of the health issues, but because of the PR they've trapped themselves in around the health issues, right? Mm-hmm. And so they don't know what to do. And because on one level, they are promoting a live in fear forever propaganda that we've been in. I'm not denying the reality of the medical issues we're facing, any of that, but I'm saying the industry has embraced a particular narrative that is very on the extreme side of that narrative. But the problem is it's hurting their income, right? So they don't know what to do, and they're trapped because they don't know how to get off that narrative. The trades can't stop. If you go to Deadline, every day there's a horror every day. And it's just like, dude, I know you're enjoying the clicks you're getting, but you're going to destroy this industry and no one's going to come to your website anymore.
Deadline used to be so much better when Nikki Fink ran it.
Well, that was real Deadline.
Yeah.
I mean, that was Nikki Fink. For those who don't know, Deadline.com is one of the trades. It's a website that was started by Nikki Fink, who was essentially a Hollywood gossip columnist who was incredibly well connected, right? Who knew everybody and knew the real. That you're talking about. I'm telling truths. She would be the one to put out who's banging who and who screwed somebody for the role.
I loved her Twitter feed for that particular reason. I'm like, dang, who does she not know in Hollywood?
And but the industry got fed up with the fact that she was blowing the lid on stuff. And so they made her an offer she couldn't refuse, which is they offered her millions of dollars to sell the website to Penske Media, which is essentially this industry front to take over all the trades, variety and whatever. And she sold her thing and she believed she was going to continue to be a columnist in it. Then they locked her out.
Yep.
They locked her out.
I was so annoyed. And I hadn't heard for the longest time. And I think I was looking at I was seriously paying attention to Deadline because I was on YouTube. And I'm like, this is not the Deadline I remember. And Kamran had brought it up. And I said, well, what happened to Nikki Fink? And that's when you told me, yeah, she basically got kicked out of it.
And it's very different even from the other trades. You'll see Variety and Hollywood Reporter sometimes publishing things that are, shake up to the narrative, right? What Deadline now is pretty much whatever the power structure is regurgitated. It doesn't challenge the narrative of the power structure.
Deadline is worse than TMZ. At least TMZ is entertaining. TMZ TMZ is still kind of entertaining. Deadline is like digital freaking fish wrap now.
But that was done on purpose. Remember, the industry saw that as a huge threat. They saw Nikki
Yeah,
Friedman
because
as a
she
huge threat.
was. I'd
Dude,
never seen
exposed everything.
anything like her. That's why I would follow her on Twitter. And she was actually following me on Twitter. I'm just like, this is delicious stuff. Let's see, the last millennial for another $4.99. Thank you so very much. Can you tell the most horrific story you know about something that happened to someone in the industry? No names needed.
I mean, the problem is this, right? I hear stories all the time, and the stories are so extreme, and they come from credible people, and you're like, I really hope this is just legend. It can't be true, right? But I haven't experienced. Thankfully, I haven't direct. I mean, the things that I experience, I share with you guys, right? But I hear stories from credible people that are really out there, and and they horrify you, and all the horrible conspiracy stuff about the abuse of children, all that stuff. I've heard it. I've heard very powerful names, but I thankfully have never walked in on somebody doing that. Otherwise, I call the cops, right? But so I can't say, okay, well, I know this person is a child abuser, but I hear their names thrown all the time. And so what do, right? And it's one of the things that you have to keep. How do you survive in this town where you keep hearing these horrible stories about people, but you yourself have no evidence of it, right?
Right.
And the problem is the people that have evidence of it will then likely go along with it to stay in the club, right? That's why you hear the stories, because people that have seen things and at some point they'll talk, because like I said, everyone's a gossip monger in this town. Well, I will share this one story that's that was told to me. I'm working with some major producers on a project, and one of the producers told me a story about his partner. His partner is one of the most powerful producers in Hollywood, and one day he attempted to there was some project that he wanted to basically get an actor who was committed to another role, but that other movie had been delayed for whatever reason for a long time, and he was trying to get that actor to essentially break his contract, leave that role, and come to his movie, right? And the person producing the other movie that was delayed is one of, there's powerful people, there's Oscar level people, right? Like there's the Harvey Weinstein, that's mid-level power, right? That's not real power. Real power are the people who are billionaires, right? Who are the studio heads and all this. So this was one of the major studio heads, and who was behind this particular project. And so my friend told me the only time he saw his business partner, ever be afraid in the years that they've worked together. And this business partner has multiple Oscar nominations and is very powerful at that mid-level, right? You've all heard the name and you're like, wow, but that's not the most powerful person in town. No, they're not, right? And so that this guy, we'll call him Mr. Oscar nominee, so Oscar gets a phone call, from big studio boss. Big studio, and he says, my friend says he walked in, closed the door. 2 minutes later, he comes out, he says, I've never seen him. I finally understood that phrase of having all the blood leave your face. I've never seen him so pale. Like he was pale and frightened. And I said, what happened? He said, well, studio head called and said, so I heard you're trying to get my actor off my project to get him onto yours, right? He said, he said, very simple. You don't fuck with me. You fuck with me, your brake lines will be cut. As in I'll have you killed. And people say that kind of stuff, to be dramatic. This person could do it and probably has done it. And so he said, the producer walked out and said, well, yeah, we're going to drop that actor from this project and we're never going to bring it up again, because his life had been threatened. And this studio head would kill him to preserve an actor on his project. That's what the industry is.
Dang. Yeah. Yeah. After living out there, yeah, you tell me a story like that, and I'm just like, yeah, without a doubt, I would totally believe it. Completely believe it. Hey, the Sea Man for $5. Thank you so very much. And I love that avatar. Love that avatar. Love these discussions. Thank you both. I'm glad you like it. What are your thoughts on the exodus from California? Austin, Texas, a new mini Hollywood soon.
Well, there is an exodus. It's amazing, because the first time in California history last year we lost a congressional seat because people left because of the mismanagement of this beautiful state by its corrupt leadership, right? And the industry, because of things to talk about, because of the extreme messaging about the world health events that we're currently going through, the industry has managed to injure itself. People are leaving. I have a friend of mine who is a successful filmmaker, has done stuff for HBO, right? Worked with the top level people. He left. He bought a farm. He left a few months ago. He bought a farm in Virginia because he wanted to sustain. I wanted something. Kids couldn't go to school in this ridiculous
Right.
state.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so he had to get his kids into school in Virginia, and he wanted to. He couldn't live like this in Hollywood anymore. He wanted to self-sustain and have like his own food because he couldn't live like this after years of this nonsense. And so that's real. It's happening. The reality is, I don't think there's ever going to, maybe in 100 years, but I don't think there's ever going to be a Hollywood version 2.0 somewhere else in Austin or in London or Bollywood or whatever. Because all the concentration of expertise and institutional knowledge of high-level filmmaking is here. And they'll rent themselves out. You have top-level people go work on a project overseas or somewhere else or indie film, but the resources are all still here. They're all going to come back here. And, you've had people like Ben Shapiro and others thinking they're going to make a parallel thing to Hollywood. The problem is this. People aren't going to jump on board, Ben Shapiro's company, because they want to keep getting work on Avengers movies and things like that. And once they're with that guy, they're done. So I don't see a parallel to this industry developing in my lifetime. I could be wrong, but I tend to be a little prophetic on things, and I don't see it developing in my lifetime because the institutional structure is too strong here of knowledge base and talent, right? But I think the industry is going to go through some transformations over the next 10 years. I think this failed woke experiment, and I think the politics of the last 18 months have really injured the industry. And eventually this town cares about money more than anything else. And so that's going to force them to be more customer oriented in the next decade. And, the stuff that we're seeing with Kevin Smith and the He-Man, all this stuff are sort of, in my view, the last gasp of that non-customer oriented approach. And the very fact that there's so much controversy around He-Man and all these things, Netflix is aware that the audience's reaction to it, they're aware of it. All the damage control they've done is they're aware of it. At some point, some ambitious executive who is ruthless and wants to take the throne is going to say, let's try a new strategy. They'll do at Netflix, right? Because, this isn't working and I'm going to make you get a lot of money. And the person starts making the money, they'll be able to take the throne.
Right. Excellent. Let's see.
Somebody said YouTube's Hollywood right now. The challenge is this. YouTube has had some interesting things. Even we think about Cobra Kai started off on YouTube. And that,
no one else wanted it.
No one else wanted it. And with the little budget they had, they made a great 2 seasons on YouTube with like no money, right? And what made an incredible show. But what happened? The moment they got successful, they all went to Netflix, right?
Yep.
And so nobody wants to be on YouTube long term, with no disrespect to Lorena, but it's anyone who wants to be a filmmaker.
Oh,
I know that Lorena, that's your goal here. I think you enjoy what you're doing. But if you want to make movies, you don't want to be on YouTube for long.
No, it's one of those things. It's like, I call it like training wheels, so to speak. It's like where you kind of get started, get moving and all of that. But eventually you have to expand, and you're right. There's so many people who are just like, I want a Netflix deal. I want a Hulu deal.
Again, the glamour. You could be they could Cobra Kai should have stayed on YouTube and been the king of YouTube, right? But they didn't want it. Because these are actors who are used to being famous and they're used to being at the top of their game, and they have something that's of the quality to be at the top of their game. So they put it on Netflix. And they have an even better show on Netflix, and they can go to Japan, and they were stuck in that strip mall because that's all YouTube could afford for 2 seasons. You just were constantly in the strip mall, right? And now you're like, oh, we're gonna film this in Japan now, right? And we're gonna have this battle sequence in Vietnam from 1969, right? Because Netflix can afford that.
There's a reason why there's that phrase, hey, I'm trying to get that Netflix money. There's a reason that phrase exists.
And the reason is specific because Netflix changed the economics of the industry.
Exactly.
Working on Netflix, you're making 2 to 3 to 4 times your normal salary. Right. So, yeah. So my friend Muslim Uncle, how are you doing?
Hey, the Muslim Uncle, how are you, my dear? Thank you for the $4.99 super chat. Hello, Lorena. Congratulations on the new vlog show. I'm actually doing some blogging for, I can't say who it is yet.
Okay.
Eventually, you will all find out, but I'm so glad that that's something new that
Congratulations.
popped
I didn't
off.
know about
Thank
that.
you. Thank you. City Kamran Salam. Hopefully, I said that right.
Yeah.
Looking forward to your Islamic historical shows. Let them know the truth. I am so looking forward to
Well,
that.
I got two. I got two in the works right now. Which again, I'll take all your prayers from any religion and any. If you're atheist, I'll take your positive thoughts. Give it to me. But Lorena knows about one of them. I have this project set at the Ottoman Empire,
Mhm.
which is actually it's been sold to a studio and hoping to put it out in the very near future to the marketplace. Actually, get it on the screen, God willing, inshallah. And then I have a
Mhm.
project that's been a very important project to me personally that keeps dying and getting resurrected. I have several Oscar level. In fact, one person who had 2 Oscars, directing Oscars, and they were tasked. And we talked about Islamophobia. The industry told him, "Yeah, you don't want to be doing the show. It's not going to be good for your PR." And they left because of
Mhm.
pressure. People said this is not going to be good for you to be associated with this. And the show said amongst the Moors. And Lorena, you and I have talked about this. It's about the
Yes.
all the Moors, and this was something the industry has been very sensitive about because, one is they, as we talked about when we talk about how only Spike Lee could do the movie Malcolm X, right? The industry would never have done it, right?
Mhm.
So the Moors is very threatening to Hollywood for 2 reasons. One, it's actually Africans who created a global, wondrous civilization, which is very threatening to Hollywood because it needs Black people to be this inferior race that they can keep giving.
To be exactly
Yeah,
to
lifted
be
up by them.
perpetual victims, and that's why I'm such an advocate and why I want to see a show like yours, because
Mhm.
if I hadn't gone digging into my own family history, I would not have known all the stories of like Africans who were in various countries. Some of
Yeah.
them who converted to Islam.
Mhm.
Some of them who were Morsi pushed into Spain. A
Mhm.
lot of them who, when they came over here, they were not enslaved at all.
No, they were empowered and they created their own communities. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, they don't want to. Hollywood doesn't want that.
And so that's the one reason that industry has been resisting it is the Moors threatens the racial narrative of the white savior that they need, right?
Hmm.
And that's number one. Number two, the other issue is again going back to the other trigger issue of the industry, which is current Middle East, right? Because the show focuses on the fact that the Jewish community was very powerful in El Andalus, in Moorish Spain. They were the
Hmm.
ministers of state. They were the wealthiest, and they helped form that incredible liberal culture. And so the idea that the Jewish community had freedom and economic success and power in the Muslim world, particularly amongst the Moors, is threatening to an industry that is obsessed with Israel and Palestine, that this state has to exist because Jews were never safe. And the idea that Jews were safe in a Muslim world is very offensive politically to people in this industry, right? I've had people say that to me directly, people saying that can't be right. I've had powerful said this script can't be accurate, and then they get corrected. It's like, no, actually, all these Jewish figures are historical. This is what they did.
Hmm.
They're like, and that disturbs them because they don't want that narrative. So literally, I had a gentleman who has 2 Oscars, a director
Hmm.
who was attached to the project, and his agents called and said, "You don't want to be associated with this narrative. It's not going to help you. We want to get you a 3rd Oscar. This ain't going to help you." And he dropped out, and that broke my heart. But that project is being resurrected hopefully soon. But
Hmm.
that's an example when we talk about the other thing. I'm facing things that people don't understand because you're arguing about religion and politics from something you're reading on the internet. I'm facing this crap to my face with
Right.
powerful people that you're like,
Hmm.
this guy has 2 Oscars and he's so scared of his agents and about doing a positive portrayal of Moors for internal political reasons for his career that he will
Hmm.
walk away for fear. There's stuff going on in this industry that's very hard for people to grasp.
Gotcha. That's why I'm glad we have you to to give us insight into this. The last millennial for another $2.99. Thank you so very much. Says, "Wow, what a story! Tell another, and I'll send $25."
I don't. I mean, you're going to blackmail us. I want Lorena to keep getting financial income from this. I mean, why don't you take the story I just said and make that part of it, right? Two-time Oscar winner walking away for fear of politically offending the club and their narrative about the Middle East. That's a story. Give her another $25.
Yeah, make it quick.
I think we're going to wind down in a couple minutes.
The John Beck for $5. Thank you so very much, my dear. Kamran, do you think Mr. Oscar would have been on good terms if he had just gone to
I guess that's the studio head. Yes,
BSB and just asked up front?
I think so. Yes, because it's all about kissing the ring, right? And this person made they had the gall to believe that their multiple Oscar nominations made them more powerful than they were, and then the industry will remind you what the real power is. You have to kiss the Godfather's ring, and if you don't,
that's exactly what I was going to say. You don't go around the Godfather. You do, no.
That's an actual direct attack on that person's, because if word got out that actor left Godfather's movie, that person ain't the Godfather no more.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So
absolutely not. Oh my gosh. Well, time always flies. It's a little shorter because your girl has to get down to Disney to live stream tonight. So I'm going to be live streaming the opening night of the Boo Bash at Disney. You're going to see how that's going to go. I haven't been to the Magic Kingdom in like 2.5 years, so I'm excited about going, and even more excited to find out if Disney's been indeed selling us a load of crap that these parties are going to have less people at them. So it's going to be fun to see for myself.
It's all PR. We saw with President Obama recently. It's all PR. It just is what it is.
It totally is. Wow, last millennial, another $2.99. Thank you. LOL, Cam. I'm your biggest fan, so how about a cool one?
Are you offering me a beer? I'll drink it with you symbolically.
There you go. Yes, Black Superwoman, I do. I got my nails done for the night.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love that name, Black Superwoman.
Thank you. Yes, I'm going to be looking for very, very disrespectful treats. That's like a catchphrase on my show. If I'm out and I see like either a meal or a dessert that just looks so tasty, it doesn't care that you're on a diet, doesn't care that you're broke. It's so disrespectful to your situation. It's just like, yeah, okay, I got to indulge.
As you know, the key to success in Hollywood is not wealth or fame, it's abs. If you have 6-pack abs, you've got all the doors will open. Just up you go, 6-pack abs, and the doors will open for you.
That is so true. California is the only place I've been where Santa Claus has 6-pack abs. I'm like, there's something wrong.
And I saw that tweet about cool story. I'm sorry, we are running out of time, so I've given you like all these cool stories.
Yes.
How many more do you want?
Save it for next time. Of course, we always bring Kamran back here every month because it seems like every time we have him booked, something pops off for just him to opine about. So yeah, we of course we will have him back next month. Thanks so much to all of you that were hanging out with us here. As usual, always appreciate you guys with your time, drop it in the chat, especially those of you who retweet the chat links, the stream links out and everything, the super chats, all of that. Just totally appreciate the heck out of all of you guys. So please give this video a thumbs up to help get me in that algorithm. Also, please retweet the stream. Let people know Kamran's on another show. So come and check it out and see what he's talking about. And I will see you guys from the Magic Kingdom tonight, 8:30 Eastern. Please come check it out. I'm trying to be an additional sane voice when it comes to Disney and the theme park. So please do check that out. Thanks so much, Kamran, for hanging out with us. I so appreciate, like I said, it's like your family.
I feel safe and comfortable here, which I don't feel in Los Angeles.
Okay, excellent. Bye, everyone.